the biggest misconception about psychedelics is people think it's the easy button. They could
You're
do
gonna
an
skip
ayahuasca
steps,
retreat
yeah.
every 2 months. I'm going back for more. I talked to a guy at this coaching retreat. He's done 400 ayahuasca retreats.
Oh my God.
And he's not even 50 yet.
There's so many people that offer plant medicine and they don't actually offer any integration after. And that's like the most important part.
You don't just treat the troubled child. They're a reflection of the system. So you work with the whole system. And the opportunity is to get to know them, not kill them off, and just build a relationship and go, oh, there you are. You're just scared. And then just reparent yourself. That's what parts work is. It's even more powerful than therapy. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know. We don't know what we're doing. We're just doing the best we can.
None of us do.
Yeah.
None of us do. So like, let's just own that we are doing the best we can. You know, figure it out. Let's start there. If someone's on an antidepressant and they don't feel stable, ketamine can be life-changing. And for her, she went from being catatonic and depressed and bedridden to now she's writing a book. She's happy.
Is there anyone that's not a good candidate for psychedelics?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Fully Expressed podcast.
We're your hosts, Corinna.
And Samantha.
And this is the show where we're inviting you into your fullest expression in life, love, and business.
Enjoy. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode. We are so excited about today's guest. This conversation was so powerful. His name is Ray Brejcha, and he works with high performers at moments when success really stops feeling like freedom. A former Silicon Valley founder and salesperson with over 24 years of sales experience, he left to become an executive coach, leadership advisor, and psychedelic preparation and integration guide. His clients include top CEOs, founders, athletes, and couples who are navigating high-stakes internal restructuring.
Ray is such an awesome storyteller. Both Samantha and I were just completely lost in how he was telling his story, but you definitely get us insight into how he became the coach that he is, working with psychedelics. And it's also so cool that he breaks it down, what's possible to work through the blocks that are keeping us in the same spot, and also how to work through the same loops and patterns that we keep running into.
One of the biggest things that we felt was a takeaway is his work around integrating, which is missing so much from psychedelic work and from internal work. So we know you're just going to love and get so much out of this conversation.
Enjoy.
Hello, Ray.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having
I'm
me.
so excited to have you on. We met at a party and started chatting, and I just loved your energy immediately. And then you started sharing what you do and, you know, your history and how you're just really impacting the world, which is so cool. And I was like, you have to come have a conversation with us. So
And I was
welcome.
like, hell yes. I'm in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
good.
It's so nice to meet you too.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. I mean, right when you walked into it, I was like, okay, I can see why Sam invited him to be on the show. You know, our energy is just so important. I think that you just know when you're going to vibe with someone and connection. And I think the more that we have deeper conversations, the more important it is that we feel safe and who we're talking to. So thank you for taking the time on a Sunday to come spend time with us.
I love this little beach town. So it
do.
was an easy drive. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I hope you
Yeah.
spend some time here if you don't have to sit with
Yeah,
traffic.
I think so. I brought some flip flops and shorts.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good beach day
and a
for
towel
sure.
and
Yeah.
wherever the
Perfect.
wind blows me. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
good.
Yeah.
So,
So-
you go.
Well, I was just going to say, give our audience a little background into, because you were in Silicon Valley for 2 decades?
Yeah, 2 decades, 24
Mhm.
years roughly.
Yeah. And then now you're doing something very different. So can you give us a little insight into your journey and how you ended up where you are now? And then
Yeah.
we'll dive into what
Happy
that
to.
is.
Yeah, I spent most of my time growing up in sales for things called startups, where they're called startups. We were young out of college and just, in sales and having a good old time. But into that journey, there was one time I saw an article in the paper. It was for a volunteer for a crisis counselor on a hotline, a suicide hotline. And there's these little phones on the bridge of the Golden Gate Bridge because a lot of people choose to like exit the world there. And I just saw this ad and I said, well, I'm curious about that. So I reached out and they did interviews and they trained us for 70 hours. So while I was working my tech job during the day, one day a week I go up to San Francisco and man these hotlines, and they got 60,000 calls a year on this crisis hotline. And not everyone was suicidal, but they were in crisis. And what I saw is that people, when they would alter the meds, or if there'd be a political debate, some world event or event happening, it would stir up their nervous system and their medications were altered. And then thus began, they're alone, no one to talk to. So they would just call to be witnessed, And so I got so much more from that than making money for my own sake. So it just planted a seed in my head. And then I had a series of like dark cloud events that even though I was making money and I was happy, I felt incredibly alone in San Francisco, and just had a series of events where I just ended up getting fired over an email, innocuous email after 9/11. It was a marketing email. Someone told me what to send. They told me who to send it to, but for some reason it pissed the guy off. He copied the CEO of this large corporation, Siebel Systems. And that Monday I found my ass on the streets with no job. So I ended up just taking 9 months off, and I moved to Boulder and just started doing this crazy odyssey, like a walkabout or the hero's journey, where I just deconstruct every part of myself, not knowing what I was going to do. And I was doing like Al-Anon 12-step work. I was doing men's work, Ayurvedic medicine, EMDR therapy. I was just like fully immersed in all things. Just who am I now that I'm not in that system? And in that time, I started doing plant medicine, and I did this journey down in Peru, and I had this vision of me actually helping people, like I did for the hotline. I'm like, what? How am I going to help people? I'm a sales guy, but because I'd done so much work on myself and I'd kind of gone to hell and back on my own psychology, I was like, well, this if I help someone where I am, then good things can happen. So I started putting my energy on how do I start making a difference in people's lives. And so I was doing that for myself. And then I started running out of money, so I had to go back into tech again. And I was like, I lasted maybe 3 years in Denver, and I was like, I can't do this. So I found some company that was doing personal growth workshops, and they said, hey, uh, we're hiring coaches. And I'm like, well, what the heck's a coach? And I had a coach at the time, and he said, you really get lit up when we talk about learning and growing and teaching. And so I got certified to be a coach. They hired me back, and I was making like $70 an hour. So I refinanced my house. I sold my car, took on 2 roommates, and became a coach for $70 an hour, like not knowing how it was going to work out. So between that and then just leading workshops for men's retreats, I started getting the energy of like helping people in various ways, and then never looked back. So it's been quite a journey, but it all started with that suicide crisis center for 2 years on that line. And then it was really my own pain from I lost my brother to suicide in college. I lost my dad to suicide a month after my wedding. So in my family lineage, lots of trauma, lots of suicide, alcoholism, all the just things that make it very unstable for me. So my own path of reconciling that loss or those losses, my pain became the thing that I started helping people with. So that's fast forwarding to now. I did another stint in tech because I ran out of money again, building my own business, the financial crisis. So it's like, here we go again, back to work. So for 10 years, I went back to the Valley and sold software again, and then got laid off again. So I got fired, acquired, laid off again. I just can't keep doing this line of work, and moved down here during the pandemic. And I reached out to this firm that said, hey, are you still hiring? They were doing executive coaching for startup founders. So they said, yeah, I've known them for like 10, 15 years. I said, we'll give you some CEOs to work with. And that started 6 years ago. They gave me a couple clients. The next thing I had 14. And I've been working with leaders ever since, mostly startup founders. And then what happened like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was telling my friend who works with Major League Baseball players on mental skills. So if they're very superstitious, these athletes, they'll wear the same socks, they'll do the same little ritual. But if they get in a funk, she reminds them of what their job is. Your job's to pitch, your job, just the simple. So I was telling her about this psychedelic integration coaching I got certified in. And then we talked about, she said, oh, how exciting. I'd love to learn more. 2 days later, she's like, I've got a baseball player who wants to talk to you. I'm like, what? Okay. I didn't have any forms for psychedelic work, but he had heard about mushrooms, and he was depressed and anxious because he kept getting injured. And he thinks it has something to do with his childhood. And that's how we started the phone call. So we talked for a half hour, and then he said, when can you come down to see me in Phoenix? And I said, Sunday. Meanwhile, I had no idea. Like I didn't have an intake form.
Yeah.
I had nothing. I just finished my training, but I've been sitting with psychedelics for 15 years. So
Right.
I certainly knew what it was like to be in my own pain and
Mhm.
heal. And so I wasn't afraid of like sitting for someone, but I just didn't know if I wanted to do it for a living. So it just sort of happened accidentally while I was in the question of what I want to do with psychedelics in the world. And then I sat with him, And with the preparation and sitting with him, something magical happened in that he connected like his injuries to like his relationship with his parents. And
Mm.
he didn't trust his body. So he would be injured, he'd go back too soon and get hurt again. So he, not me, he saw the patterns, which a lot of this work is about, seeing your patterns and seeing them in your life and what they lead to. He made a big breakthrough in that he saw that his resentment towards his parents was actually harming his ability to stay healthy.
Wow.
So he made that connection. And I've been working with him for 2.5 years now, including when he got let go by his team. And now he's like in his early 30s, and now he's done. Like,
Mm.
where do you go from here? Be a State Farm insurance agent or what? So I get to see him through his whole cycle. So it started with him. Then he referred like a Division I basketball coach, Final Four basketball coach, then a CEO of a tech startup. And I was like, I guess I'm doing this. So I said, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to try it on for size. And I did 3 or 4 and 5. Then next thing you know, I've now sat with 130 people in the last 3 years.
Wow.
Leaders, professional athletes, NFL players, baseball players, and just it's been the most rewarding thing by far I've ever done in my entire life. It found me. I didn't find it. And it's just to see people discover more about themselves and get out of their own way and see all the ways that they just complicate their life and make
Mhm.
it more difficult or focus on the wrong thing. So anyway, that's a long answer to
Mm.
your question, but
No, I
Hey,
like,
love it.
it was
yeah.
a great story. You
Mm.
had me captured. I
Yeah.
was like in it. So that means that the audience has it captured. So after sitting with 130 people, I'm so curious, what are some of the common themes that you're seeing people keep themselves stuck for?
Yeah. Well, if people out there listening, you think about there's this thing called upper limits problem, like Gay Hendricks talks about it. And it's like you got this
Favorite
internal
book.
thermostat, right? And it's like,
Mm.
why do I want to move towards something,
Mhm.
but then all of a sudden, like I get success and then something goes offline. And so people have upper limits problems. And Gabor Mate, who I love a lot, if you know his work,
Hmm.
Healing in a Toxic Culture, he talks about adaptations from early childhood trauma. Either something happened to you
Mhm.
or didn't happen to you, meaning you didn't get
You didn't
love.
receive, yeah.
You form these adaptations that are very intelligent by design,
Mhm.
but then they also hold you prisoner because they think you're still 8, 9 years old. So a lot of this work is people come to me with upper limits problems where all the same adaptations and strategies, they either they get to this place where they built a business or they've achieved the pinnacle of their career as a professional athlete and then it's done,
Mhm.
or they built it and they're like, this doesn't give me the same lift that it once did. So that something feels off, something doesn't feel as meaningful, and their relationships are starting to suffer, the
Mhm.
kids, their wife. So it's usually a relational thing.
Yeah.
First, it's like the relationship with their business they built doesn't feel as energizing, and they're just exhausted from performing at a high level, either building a company, and that they can no longer do the hustle. They're isolated, they're lonely, they're exhausted, their nervous system's shot, and they just want a different possibility, but they don't know what that would look like.
Yeah, it
So
sounds like they're stuck in the
yeah,
achieving gave them
yeah,
that zing or
yeah,
that focus, and
yeah,
then as soon as they achieve it, they have to feel almost, or
yeah,
they're faced with all the
yeah.
things they never really
Yeah, like
dealt with.
who would I be if I stopped achieving? And it's a very, I mean, people out there listening probably have maybe some of that inside of yourself where you're
Yeah.
so driven. If you think of your early programming as a kid,
Mhm.
what do schools do? If you get the good grades, you're the good
You're
student.
rewarded,
If
right?
you are on the right sports team and you're a good athlete, then you're rewarded. So you learn this programming from church, from schools, from your parents. And at that point, 90% of our lives were in our subconscious mind. Our emotions are driven by that. So if you're not aware of all these
Mhm.
programs and these adaptations, then you become a CEO or an athlete and you're being run by it and you don't know who you'd be if you stepped away from that thing.
Hmm.
Like it's confronting. So they want something different, but then at the same time they're afraid of like, what if I let go of that?
Mhm.
It's really deeply ingrained in the culture, this high achiever
Yeah,
success
wanting
thing,
more, having
wanting
more.
more. And if they stop that, then
What
who am
is
I
there?
and
Yeah.
what do I do? So that's generally speaking. Everyone's got their own nuances, but that's
Yeah.
you
How
know
do they find themselves without the achieving?
well, it's a bigger conversation. It's a journey. It's once they see, like I had a guy that came to sit with me yesterday or day before, I lose track of days. And he's a founder of a startup and he was successful, but he he felt like there was a way he was holding himself back with his internal leadership team.
Mm.
Mm.
To people that wanted to invest in him, he was like fully expressed, but for his internal team, he would be in the room, reading the room, but not engaging, not speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And we made a link to like him and his mom, who's now deceased, but he was still trying to please his mom and not rock the boat, and she's passed away. So when people see that, they see that link, then it's like, oh, I can see a different way to lead that's not programming
Connected
from
to that.
something early on. So that's the moment where it's like, oh, I can still be me.
Yeah.
I don't have to like lose all the success, but I can do it in a different way where it's more sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier on the nervous system. It doesn't lead to
Mm.
exhaustion, and it's not on autopilot. That's a big thing. People are they're on autopilot,
All the
Totally.
time.
like
Mm-hmm.
autopilot. I mean, you probably have worked with people like that you've seen and connected with, but that's the
Do you ever run into people that become so aware, but then they still
Don't change.
don't change?
Yeah.
Like they become so aware.
oh, never.
Yeah, I know. So I know. I mean, clearly, I mean, we all have our cycles and our patterns, but how do you help someone integrate the change? Because that's what I
Yeah,
think about so much. I used to coach too for a
yeah.
really long
Oh,
time.
you
And
know
so
then. Yeah,
I know the inner worlds of some people,
yeah,
but it's also I'm so curious from your perspective. Like you can become aware of your shit. You can become aware of like where your stuff is coming from.
yeah,
But I think the integration piece is hard for some people
yeah,
where they're like, I know that I'm doing that.
yeah,
And I know that I'm actually also consciously choosing to continue doing that,
yeah,
but they keep themselves in this
Same
cycle
pattern.
and this loop.
yeah.
What do you think is going to help them break the loop?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you've had your own experience with it as a coach, so you've seen it real time.
And
People
with
have the
myself too,
people. Oh, of
Yeah, all of
course.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have my own upper
Even
limit
if I
problems
have,
too.
yeah,
I'm not immune to this either. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a question I ask myself a lot too. What I think it all first starts with awareness of here is the system that I'm in,
Mm.
and there's a model called the ecology of change that I can do with people where there's the goal that you want, the thing you want to go to, and so much of coaching is like, okay, we're just gonna, we're gonna get our mindset right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna move towards that goal, and
Right.
then you get close to it, then the rubber band snaps you back. And so there's this model I've been introduced to, I've used with clients. It's called the ecology of change, where you just acknowledge this part of you that just feels like you're not going to make it or you're not enough. So you
Mm-hmm.
really get present to like the thing that's holding them back, and then bring that closer to the thing that they want, the present state.
Mm.
So there's a way of like recalibrating so you're not getting that big snapback, but you're moving them closer to those two states. And that ecology of change is your nervous system, it's your
Mm,
beliefs, it's your thoughts. So it's a way of working with people right where they are and not bringing shame to this like party that keeps sabotaging yourself, but really flushing it out. Like what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And where do you like you just get really curious about that part of you that is getting in your own way,
mm,
and not to kill it off, but to really get in relationship with it, and that's where we start is just bringing awareness to these patterns, making the link to where they come from. And that's step one. Then there's all the biggest misconception about psychedelics is people think it's the easy button, right?
Right.
They could
You're
do
gonna
an
skip
ayahuasca
steps. Yeah.
retreat every 2 months. I'm going back for more. I talked to a guy at this coaching retreat with 50 executive coaches 2 weeks ago. He's done 400 ayahuasca retreats,
Oh my God.
and he's not even 50 yet. I'm
Oh
like,
my
dude,
goodness.
I'm like,
I'm like, he's addicted to the ayahuasca.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, and I still see him. He's all patterned. I'm like,
You're like, how's that working for you?
not to be mean, but are you a poster? I mean, so what I did it 15 years myself. I'd go to Peru sometimes with a Spanish ayahuasquero or shaman, and I wouldn't know. I wouldn't prepare. I wouldn't
Mm.
integrate. I'd go back to Silicon Valley, and I saw some cool shit, and like, wow. And then I went back to my life, and the
Right.
patterns came back. To your point,
Mhm.
so I put a lot of attention the last 5 years on integration. So I created that Neuro Arc framework, which is a
Mhm.
way to get you your current state, make
Mhm.
it safe for your nervous system, explore some of the patterns, and then from those patterns, without shame, like really getting a sense of what is your internal landscape, what are your beliefs, what are your patterns, what are your thoughts, and then from there, put together practices. So, like the guy I just mentioned that I sat with, before he even sat with me, we spent 3 hours talking. He had a 10-page preparation guide, which
Mhm.
was basically his internal psyche. And one of the cool things about working with him was that he never came out to his parents. Here is this leader running a company.
Mm.
He was
Wow.
gay, but he was hiding that from his parents. So they passed away, and I had him write a letter to his parents, coming out.
Hmm.
I had him bring it with him, and he also introduced his new partner he's getting married to later this month. And I had him like introduce his partner to his deceased parents. And then during the retreat, during the MDMA portion, I had him actually read that letter out loud,
Wow.
fully embodying it, fully owning it, smiles, tears. Just he had never had that opportunity before they passed to tell him. And when you're in that state, it
Hmm.
feels very real to your nervous system. So
Right.
a lot of this is you connecting to that place and being in your power and speaking fully expressed and not hiding any part of you. And that's the work for all of us. Like, what if we don't hide any of ourselves,
Hmm.
bring that to the world, to our lives, to our interactions? And that's what this stuff can do, you know? So it's giving them a taste of what's possible in their own world, like, and seeing where they just get in their own way. So it's an evolution, but it's really about the integration and the
Yeah.
preparation. It's equally as important as just doing medicine over and over again. That's not the answer.
I love that you like brought it to like fully express, because I think fully express is so much more than just living fully express. It's like owning and claiming and declaring your
Hmm.
internal world externally.
Yeah.
And when you finally do that, you're like, oh, like I'm identifying with these new words, or
Yeah.
I'm identifying with this experience. I'm saying it's like your system is hearing
Yeah.
these words come true, especially the things that we are so scared to say out loud,
Yeah.
or the things
Yeah.
that we don't want to admit to anyone. I mean, the
Right.
minute that you say them, there's so much power in expressing them.
Hmm.
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 Even if you don't use words, right? Expressing them through the body, crying, tears, shaking, whatever that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
um, because it helps us release and it becomes real to our
Hmm.
bodies.
Yeah.
When we live in our mind, it's like, okay, you're just going to sit in the loop. Like nothing's happening.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
nervous system's just super comfy with it looping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your brain is its whole function is to keep you safe.
Yeah, that's why talk
Not
therapy only takes you so
not
far because you're just retelling the story again
your
and
brain's
again
like,
and
I'm
again.
keeping yourself safe. If you go out in the limit and start speaking your truth, oh hell no, we're gonna reel you back in. So
Yeah.
it just can't help itself. It's like it's our system's intelligently designed to keep you safe and alive. And during this work, I do a lot of work with internal family systems and parts work,
Mm.
attachment theory, that subconscious programming up to age 9. So all of that stuff, there's nothing wrong with it. But I use operating system just because I came from tech,
Right.
but I help leaders upgrade their operating system
But
so
that's
that
probably really helpful for men, which is who you mostly work with, because
yeah,
that's how their minds think as well.
yeah,
Women are so much more about intuition and the body. But
hmm,
when men hear that, they're like, what does that mean? So I
yeah,
think
Your
using
language is
language
perfect.
is
Yeah.
important
yeah,
for them to connect to that
yeah,
and not think it's like woo woo or,
yeah.
you know,
And
feminine or
there's this
whatever.
cool thing too. I've heard various incarnations of this story, but why I like psychedelics. I mean, breath work also gets there.
Right.
NLP parts. There's many ways to get there, but working with the subconscious mind, I did therapy for so many years, and it just becomes like this pathology where you start reinforcing the shit that makes you feel awful. And then you're like, oh,
Hmm.
I feel awful still. And I'm still doing that thing with my wife or like whatever. And you can't unhook from it. So this is the one way and it's expressed. So imagine a fresh blanket of snow on a mountain
Mm.
and you're at the top either sledding or snowboard. You can go in any direction, any path. But the more that gets tracked out, you naturally start going in those grooves. You just can't, you try going over here, but then it just goes back in those grooves. Your mind's the same way.
Mm.
And so these rigid thought patterns, if they become too rigid, your brain's no longer like plastic anymore or flexible. You can get to ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety. But psychedelics become that fresh blanket of snow that puts a covering over those pathways
Mm.
and gives you new connections to parts of your brain. Like your default mode never goes offline. It's the part of your brain, it's your ego, it's your
Hmm.
operating system. So that sort of just be on MRIs, it goes almost completely still like a meditator. And they
Mm.
surprise them. But what happens is other parts of your brain come online and you get this almost meta brain
Mm.
that's like, oh, I never saw that problem. I got this one. They couldn't have got that with their rational brain. So you sort of short circuit the subconscious mind and get into this really cool meta mind that helps you solve problems.
Does it like, I'm so curious because yeah, sorry, I take it back. But my question is going to be, does it like reset your brain, or is it like to give you a moment to like actually rewire what's going on in your mind?
It can actually new
Like
neural
create new
Like,
neural
you
not
can
just
it
pathways.
can
new,
create
but
new
like,
neural
yeah,
pathways for
yes,
sure.
yeah,
Yes, for sure. They're
cool.
still doing a lot of research on the brain. There's so much we don't learn, but they're doing all kinds of studies now for quitting drinking, quitting smoking, but new neural pathways are formed. There's a certain window,
Mhm.
the first 72 hours and the first 2 weeks, depending on what research study you read. But it's so important that when you're in this, there a neuroplastic window that you implement new change.
Mm.
In other words, if you go back to like the mental thoughts again, or smoking again, or going into bad habits, you'll reinforce the bad habits.
It's the
If
part
you,
you're speaking to, the integration that's
yes, yeah,
necessary. Because
yeah,
there's so many people that offer plant medicine
yeah,
and they don't actually offer any integration after. And
yeah,
that's like the most important part because
oh,
if you can't, I
wholeheartedly,
mean, most people can't integrate themselves. They
no,
need a guide or someone to reflect back to them to help
yeah,
them
hmm,
create those new neural pathways.
Yeah, a part of me even says I don't know how you feel about this, but I kind of push back and like everyone needs someone to guide them through integration
Yeah.
because if not, you're only the one viewing yourself in your integration and you're
Yeah.
only going to keep yourself in the same loops.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think
you
there's
can't,
only so much that you can
yeah,
see. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think having a guide for integration is number one,
yeah.
almost more important than the psychedelics
Well,
themselves.
Themselves.
anyone can be a trip
Yeah.
sitter. Like, if I
Yeah.
gave you 4 grams of mushrooms, I'll just sit by your side. Anyone can, that's great. I'm not knocking that, but what gets lost is like even the way you prepare, like that CEO I was talking about. I prepared him 2 weeks out. He was starting to emote and shed tears. Like it starts once you start filling out this 130 question intake form because it goes into such deep layers
Mm.
to
Hmm.
the relational lens, relationship to your business, to your partner, to your kids. How are your kids a mirror? Tell me about your early and childhood. So all that stuff starts stirring up things from your subconscious.
Hmm.
You start working with it. I give them prompts for journaling, contextualized for who they are. And by the time they come sit with me, the document,
They've already felt
we
so much
they've
and they're
already
feeling the
felt,
They've
medicine already.
already felt
they're
it.
already
Yeah.
seeing the patterns.
Yeah.
Like this guy's like, I've cried so much. Even that this big NFL player, he was in my well, he was in a place where it was legal. Let's put it that way. Um, we were working together, and he read this document I created for him, and he started like crying uncontrollably. He's like, I
Mm.
haven't cried like that for 10 years. He's this warrior. He was just
Yeah.
emotionally deadened. He would play with a broken leg in the NFL. Like
Oh
he
my
was
gosh.
He was
that
tough.
hardened. He was
Yeah.
tough,
Yeah.
but he was like trembling. So because you do that level of preparation, that when they sit with me, they get this 10-page document. It's got a poem, it's got a prayer, it's got nervous system regulation techniques if it gets a little difficult. It's got your parts, so Dick Schwartz's internal family systems,
Hmm.
like your protectors, your fire. So it's got all these different elements to it. And it's structured in a way that your nervous system says, okay, I feel safe to open up. These parts, this protector that's the manager or the people pleaser, I feel safe to open up in this altered state. So we're not hijacking the nervous system. We're
Right.
not. We're saying let's get a full systems yes before you drink the
Mm.
medicine. And I do some breath work beforehand. We walk the beach. We do some hape, which is tobacco,
Hmm.
all designed to get people in their
In
body,
their
out of their
body. Yeah.
head. And so before we even sit together, we've done a lot of preparation. And on the backside, this guy got this 10-page document on specific integration practices for him.
Mm.
And the journey, I recorded it, with AI. And so it's contextualized for him. He talked for 6 hours. So he's got
Wow.
notes. His entire journey has been reflected back in different arcs of the day. And what's beautiful is we're recording it. He's listening to it. He's writing to the music.
I love it.
So it's so
So cool.
completely integrated that
Yeah.
he doesn't need to come back to me for a long time.
So these journeys are just like one day.
It's a 1 day, 8 hour journey.
Wow.
So
Sometimes
epic.
they're 9 or 12, which is hard on me. But
Yeah.
but
That's
at
a
the end of
lot
the
of, that's a
day,
lot
at
to
the end of
hold.
the day, we were finished and we went and sat on the beach. We jumped in the ocean together, big hugs. And I saw him again yesterday. He's just texted me he's out in the desert now, and he's just like feet up on a chair. He took the whole week off just to
Wow.
integrate this work.
Mm.
So we're gonna do some ongoing coaching that'll help him. The integration plan's got this like 3 to 6 month arc where it's like this. Here's the work we're doing, and here's
Yeah.
exactly what it is, and here's how I can support you. So I give him practices. I'm going to help him in the boardroom. I'm going to help him with his leadership team. I'm going to help him with his partner. Like I used to coach just on leadership, but now it's
It's
become
all of
this
it.
whole, yeah, they don't come to you for that, as you
Yeah.
know, as a coach. They come to you for solving this problem, but then when you start teasing it out, it's a whole system
It's like a
approach.
web.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
It's
web.
just a
Yeah.
web. It's
You
like
you you know.
these are
Yeah,
all
you
connected.
you know.
What
You
are
get it.
some, I'm just so curious for the audience, like what are some of the common themes that men are struggling with
Mm.
or that you
Uh,
hear?
I think just
Mm.
culturally speaking, especially for the younger men, like I had a CEO that I sat with, and then his wife came to me, which often happens, which is beautiful when both people do the work. That they're going through a separation now after a long, long marriage, and their kids, 22, 20 years old, those boys, they're struggling and they
Mm.
can't express the struggle. They said, would you
Yeah.
go do some mentoring with them? So I walked the
Oh.
beach with them and just did a no medicine, just a
Yeah.
conversation,
Mm-hmm.
getting their world as a 22-year-old. And it's like the same things that we struggle with. They're yearning for a deeper connection.
Mm.
There's things in the way of that. There's like they're insecure. They don't think they're enough. That's the biggest human disease is I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. Yeah.
It,
It's
it
the greatest human
it's
disease.
it
Mm-hmm.
I,
is
I love that you call it, I don't love that you call it a disease, but it is
Mm-hmm.
a disease.
Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
disease
It's
of
a
the
Gives
mind.
it
mind.
it gives
Disease
it
of
the
the
word.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, well put. Yeah. So it's a lot, and a lot of when I do a CEO retreat with a light San Pedro cactus medicine, I get leaders opening up about, okay, you got a successful business, but what's really going on?
Mm-hmm.
And most of them talk about the isolation of leading a team,
Mm.
building something. They don't want to go to their partner and burden her or him with that thing.
Right.
And they can't talk to their team or their investors because they got to keep it strong. So here they are leading this thing, just staying one step ahead of everyone else. Hopefully, don't get found out as an imposter.
Mm.
Not, I don't know what I'm doing. You don't know. We don't know what we're doing. We're just doing the best we
None of us
can.
do.
Yeah.
None of us do. So like, let's just own that we are doing the best we can. You know, figure it out. Let's start there. So I just get guys opening up. And of course, we have to do things to help destroy the guy's, head.
The
So we
ego.
do
Yeah.
breath work, we do meditation, we do the tobacco, and it's super intense. But we get them into their body and then start opening up, and then they start revealing, like, yeah, I'm burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
I built this thing, and now I'm like either done with it, or I don't derive the same meaning from it.
Mhm.
What's next?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's next. And then on the way of building this thing, they look at, oh, my kids don't know me, or my wife and I don't see eye to eye, or my husband. And so it's like it's those things. They want deeper meaning
Mm-hmm.
in life. They want more connection. They don't want to be living on this like treadmill of like nervous system, cortisol, like this
Fight or
treadmill.
flight, yeah.
Yeah, and just being more connected to who they really are, not losing their edge, but being more conscious about what really drives them and who they are. So a lot of this work is like just this. I call it just emotional freedom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I can help have everyone have emotional freedom and be fully expressed to be who they are without apology, like then my work is done. That's what I want. People be fully expressed, fully on point with who they are, not throw away all the stuff that's who they are, but just
Yeah.
learning the things that don't need to be on autopilot so that you feel more just peaceful inside.
I think that's so beautiful. I was listening to Diary of a CEO with Stephen
Oh
Barrett.
yeah, I love Stephen Barrett.
And
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
sharing, he was talking to they call him like the king of side hustles. And the conversation came up around stress and what do you do? This guy has like he had over 80 side hustles or something. And something Steven shared was that, he holds a lot of stress in his business. And when he goes home, he doesn't feel like he wants to, he doesn't want to burden his partner with the
Mhm.
stress, but
Yeah.
then he also doesn't want to not tell her because
Yeah.
then he's sitting there in the anxiety and the stress and she
Yeah.
is asking him, what's the matter? What's wrong?
Mhm.
And he said, I don't have a solution for that yet. And I feel like, whether you're a high power CEO or just a regular dude,
Mhm.
living life, I think that's such a common theme of not knowing how to move the energy that's in your body
Yep.
and not. And he also, expressed that telling her would only increase the anxiety. So that's also not a reason why he
Yeah.
doesn't want to share what's happening
Yeah.
internally.
Well, plus you don't want to put that on the relationship.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Because
not.
then it's like therapy,
Yeah, it kills
therapist,
the
and
intimacy and the juiciness of the of your connection, and it's just not the best place for it. And and these are generalizations, right? But women are such more relational creatures than men. Men tend to just
they isolate.
they
And
isolate,
yeah,
and you get them together, and they start opening up, like, oh, I want more of this, but then they go back to like isolate. It's just I've been leading men's work for decades now, and it's just a pattern where they want more of it, but most men triangulate around activity. Let's go surfing.
Mm.
Let's go mountain biking. Let's
That's
go
what
watch
they
the
know to
game.
do.
Women will go to brunch. There'll be like 10 different conversations happening
Yeah.
at the same time, and you're tracking all of them. It's like, oh, here we are. And
Yeah.
guys are like, oh, two guys will like, there's this joke I heard. It was a woman who's like, well, how was that time with Steve? I mean, his
Oh, I
wife's
love
got
this.
cancer. Like, he lost his job. Like, he's like, I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
guys talk about? We just golfed. Like
Yeah.
it's a funny
Yeah.
joke, but there was no substantive conversation.
Totally.
It was just they hung out.
Or
you
the
know?
joke where the guy comes with a list of questions from the wife to ask, about what's going on. She's like, make sure you ask these. We need to know what's happening.
It sounds
the
like
tel-
Nick a little bit. Like
the
sometimes it's like I don't know what to bring up in conversation. It's like, well, I can give you a
Yeah.
list. I know
Yeah, here,
exactly.
let us send
Ask
you the
this question.
questions.
Ask this question.
Yeah.
Ask this question.
Yeah, it's so fun. And what I also too is to your question about what people want to get from this. So much the trauma is this thing it's sometimes misunderstood. Gabor Mate talks about it's not the thing that happened to you, it's happens inside of your body.
Right.
It's either something happened to you or didn't happen to you. I didn't get
Yeah,
that
that's
love
a big one.
or emotional attunement. Think of how many parents I was raised by emotionally immature parents. People listening, how many of your parents actually did any kind of personal growth work?
Right.
Well, they were emotionally immature. So as a young kid, you were attuning to their nervous system and their needs. And then that's where the first separation starts. So you add in the programming of systems of school, religion, plus your parents' nervous system, you have no chance.
Yeah.
By 9 years old, you're already living someone else's life and you're split
Yeah.
from your authentic self and you're not speaking up because you want that secure attachment. And so what gets sacrificed is your authentic self. And then our work becomes, discovering who you are and letting that out and finding ways to create experiments to like confront you, to change your thermostat, your upper limit problem through coaching, through all the beautiful things that you guys do. And it's that's the journey. It's not this end game. It's this process of just coming back home, and we're all walking each other home.
Yeah. We're all just mirrors of one another.
Exactly. So if you look at life as a relational mirror and see who you're attracting into your field, business partner wise, relationally, friends wise, and you don't like what you see,
Yeah.
look in the mirror. Start there.
We were just talking about this yesterday of just, recognizing that if we're seeing something in someone else that is frustrating us or bothering us, or, we're just like, oh, why can't you do this? You have to turn inward and ask, well, where in my life am I?
Do I feel that way about myself?
Yeah. Where am I
Why
not
is
showing
that
up?
person bugging me so much?
Yeah.
Why are they so triggering for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because I do that too. Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
see.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I do have a question about the psychedelics.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that's not a good candidate for psychedelics?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me more.
There's people that have a history of mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, not bipolar 2. But so we assess for mental health risk. Do they have suicide ideation or they attempted suicide? So it's like you assess their current mental health. Then you also look at what prescription drugs they're on because there can be what's called contraindications.
Right.
Like if you took an SSRI,
Which is an
and then-
antidepressant for people that don't know.
antidepressant, then you take ayahuasca, it can be dangerous. If you take mushrooms or MDMA with antidepressant, you just might not feel anything because you're just it's not dangerous per se, but it's
Ineffective.
It's just ineffective. So you spend all this money and time. So I assess for both like mental health risk and then
That's
just
so
what
good.
medications you're on. And I have two MDs I refer out to, and I've had people taper off safely. If they're on Lexapro or
Before they
Wellbutrin,
come and do
yeah,
and
they'll
sit with you.
taper off. It depends on their dose, how long they've been doing it, but usually 2 weeks is a good tapering off. And again, they're doing it under medical supervision. I'm not a doctor, but I have referral partners, and that's usually the safe path. So, and then I screen. Man, if someone doesn't want to fill out my 130 questions, that's a screening mechanism there. If they want the easy button, they're not going to work with me.
Yeah.
So I screen from the I've had people come to me like, I want to sit with you. I send them the stuff. Crickets. Bye-bye.
Don't say anything.
Yeah.
They're just gone. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like like the
Yeah.
dating apps. They're just gone. They just ghosted me. They're gone. So but that's how so people like that. And they say people under 25 because you can
Your
still
brain
get
is still
schizophrenia,
developing,
but I was doing mushrooms in college when I was 18 and I think it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the general rule of thumb and they're still learning more and more about it. But I hope that answers your question.
No, it definitely does. Because I always think about just like mental health in general,
Yeah.
for other reasons in my life. But like, I always think like people that are really, really suffering, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just really want you to feel so good in your life. But I never know if psychedelics is a good answer for those people that
Well-
are really, really struggling. But then I know there's like a spectrum and a capacity, and different people are in
Yeah.
different ranges. So I just was
I
curious.
talked to the CEO of the hot springs yesterday and we just started talking and the next thing you know, psychedelics came up and he told me the story of his wife who lost her mom and was devastated and got really depressed, was in bed for 3, it just couldn't function. and he was like really worried about her. Then he started becoming depressed because their
Yeah,
energy
you're
was,
intertwined.
yeah. And they found a therapist that did ketamine. Ketamine is not a psychedelic; it's
Right.
a
I've heard of ketamine,
dissociative.
yeah.
But if someone's on an antidepressant and they don't feel stable,
Mm,
meaning they've been had suicide ideation, or they're really depressed or anxious and they can't get out, ketamine could be under this care of a therapist and the right integration, it can be life changing. And for her, she went from being catatonic and depressed and bedridden to now
wow.
she's writing a book. She's happy.
Oh
Oh,
my
She
wow.
did three
gosh.
months of
Wow.
ketamine treatment with a therapist, and she's no longer on antidepressants. And they're
Wow.
like super. I watched them both in the hot spring yesterday. They were just both just happy. They're both online, and we had this whole rich
Amazing.
conversation about her journey. So ketamine, if you got people out in the audience that are in that state, I have some good practitioners. It's legal here in California, but that's where I'd start if you're in that state and you want relief and you can't break the cycle from this depression or anxiety
Mm,
that's just got you in its grasp. That's a good way to go before you
so-
get to psychedelics. There's so
yeah.
many entry points, and
Yeah.
so many ways to go.
Yeah, and it seems like you have a lot of resources for
Yeah.
wherever
For
you're at.
people.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And
And you have
if I
a
can't
good
help
way of like
someone,
reading someone,
yeah,
which is such a good
if I can't
practitioner.
help someone, I'll refer them out to like, hey, if you've had a lot of trauma, I work with a good amount of trauma, but if you've got really big trauma, like major T, capital T trauma,
Hmm.
I'll refer you out to a somatic therapist with trauma training.
Mm,
I've had a lot of trauma training too, but I will refer out, or afterwards, if you become dysregulated, I've got some great somatic experiencing coaches like Peter Levine's work, with
hmm.
working with trauma, because so much that lives in our body,
Yeah.
and you can reactivate things from the past
Oof.
because your nervous system has no
Has
concept of
it
time.
processed it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still there.
You hear a car like backfire, it takes you back to that time that you were in a car accident. And next thing you know, you're
You don't want to get in a car
sympathetic
anymore.
nervous
Yeah.
state. And you're just like, so there's people that can
It
help you with
literally
nervous
takes
system
over.
regulation. Yeah. So the opportunity with the psychedelics is that you actually get to consciously work with those traumas so they're no longer living in your nervous system. So you get to help with the mind, the subconscious, the nervous system. So much is stored in the body, like the body keeps score.
Yeah.
There's Gabor Mate's book. There's Peter Levine's work on trauma.
Hmm.
There's some really renowned therapists that talk about trauma, where it lives in the body.
It's
It's
amazing.
just stored there.
Yeah. In the
And
fascia, in the
I've
tissue,
had
in the
many
nervous
people who've
system
resurfaced sexual abuse
that they
or
didn't
being
even know,
bullied,
remembered.
and they're
Yeah.
running this huge company, and all of a sudden they're like, "Why don't I trust men? Well, I trust people. It's really weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never liked men that much." Well, we found out why.
Yeah.
But your body,
Yeah.
your
Literally.
mind is so clever at just blocking
It
that stuff
blocks it
again to
out.
keep
Yeah.
you safe.
Hmm.
There's that keeping you safe. So it's doing its job.
Are
So
there any suggestions or tools of integration? Like, say someone maybe can't afford right now to come and work with someone like you,
mhm,
especially for men. I think that women are so good, like you said, at being relational, and
yeah,
I think women really do a pretty strong job at supporting one another
yeah,
and working through problems together, problem solving. But I think sometimes men feel so isolated, as you spoke to
yeah.
earlier.
hmm
Are there any suggestions you have for someone who maybe one day wants to work with someone like you, but right now couldn't, but
Yeah.
really wants to get out of this pattern, this loop, or this isolation that they're in?
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of like we're just relational creatures. And
Hmm.
since the advent of the 2008 with the iPhone and all the apps
Yeah.
and technology, and then throw in a pandemic, we've become more connected digitally, but more isolated and more lonely as a culture than ever.
Yeah.
So any way to get into a group of like,
Mm.
there's a place here locally, Breathe Degrees. It's
Hmm.
in Carlsbad.
Yeah.
People get together that are like-minded and they just sit and soak in the cold plunge and the sauna. They do breath work together. So getting in community with like-minded people
Yeah.
to start connecting. I think it just start to build more connection with people and getting in places where you like things for your body. There's people there that are like on that same vein and you want to meet people. That's one way. Another beautiful way is meditation.
Hmm.
You can use
Mm.
apps like Open. Open's this cool app where they give you a meditation for 10, 15 minutes, then they give you a breath work thing. It's a
Mm.
way to connect to yourself
Yeah.
to help you one of the most powerful things you can do is learn how to regulate your own nervous system. So if you can do the breath work and meditation and learn how to be in relation with your mind and your ego and your breath to help regulate. I like cold plunging too, because you can hop in that thing and you've got to go from
Yeah.
sympathetic to parasympathetic. How do you do that? On your own. There's
Yeah.
no one going to save your ass in that cold water. And I know that
Yeah.
so that's one way too,
Yeah.
or breath work's a beautiful way too. That's a way to really get you in your body and move things energetically. And I like people have this thing with men's work. this mythopoetic thing where you're
Mm.
banging drums. But there are things you can do where there's entrepreneurs organization, YPO. Those are group for men where there's leaders that get together with
Mm.
intention.
Hmm.
So there's groups like Vistage. Um, there's men's groups like the Mankind Project. I was
Right.
on the leadership staff for 5 years. It's a nonprofit. It follows Joseph Campbell's work, the hero with a thousand
The hero's
faces,
journey. Yeah.
the hero's journey.
Hmm.
It's experiential. Men need to be experiential and they need to do healing in relationship.
Yeah.
Healing with a therapist or on your own or on a cushion, to me, it misses the bigger opportunity, which is your primary wounding was in relationship. So the opportunity to heal is in relationship.
Mm.
So being in community and doing those things where you get more exposure to other humans.
I love that so much because I think um women are just women. Like women don't necessarily like I don't know how to be a woman because I didn't have a mom. Like it's just inherently in us, but I do think there is this interesting conversation around masculinity and what it means to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not uncommon to hear like I don't know what a man is or I don't know how to be a man because it's almost so performative.
Yeah.
And we, men and women both have this idea of what a masculine man is or what it means to be a man. And so I just love all these suggestions because
Yeah.
I think men deserve to feel the same way women do, which is like just to be you. There doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a definition of what a man
Yeah.
is. Like just
Yeah.
be all of you,
Yeah.
be fully expressed.
But to be vulnerable as a man is like, that's confronting
Yeah.
It's
to their
so
system. It's like,
confronting.
oh,
So hard.
hell no. Oh,
Yeah.
well, no, I'm not going to show weakness. So it's a big thing, and they're just trained from an early age to suck it up and push through it. But I also have had a fair amount of female founders I've worked with
Hmm.
where they're not in touch with their feminine essence
Not at all.
and they're in their performative. They're no
Right.
better
They're in
than
the
the
achieving
guys.
too. Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of high achieving women, and one of the women I worked with, she was a chief product officer for a startup in San Francisco. I did 3 or 4 retreats with her, including like MDMA coaching with parts work.
Hmm.
And one of my first journeys with her was to keep her in her body. Like I was
Mm.
sitting there by her side, breathing with her. I had my hand on her head, and I was just like keeping her in her body because
Yeah.
she, at 3 or 4 years old, they started moving around a lot. And her parents gave her a Barbie doll or a swing set instead of helping her soothe herself. She was upset. So she would go in her room and just daydream, and that
Mm.
became her escape. So her mind was her biggest enemy. So a lot of her work was like just becoming more feminine, becoming more in touch with her emotions. And for the first month or two after her journey, she was dysregulated and she was scared.
Yeah.
She's like, who the, excuse
Am
my
I? You could
language.
cuss.
Who,
Yeah.
You can
yeah,
cuss.
yeah. Who the fuck am I now? Like,
Yeah.
there's this kind of messy middle where there was me, this tech person, my career, and then now I'm feeling things I don't want to feel. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm
Mm.
lost and like I'm wandering. And so that was her experience. But now she's really like a year later, and I sent her to integration groups in San Francisco. I
Wow.
had her go do the Hoffman process, which is
Mm.
a really powerful program in Northern California. It's working on your relational patterns with your mom and your dad and how that imprints in your body. So I had her doing a lot of different experiments to find her path. And now she's in a really good spot. She's employed now. She's done a couple other journeys, but she's doing a lot
Wow.
of great work. And she learned all these tools from the Hoffman process that now she has in her toolbox so she can regulate her nervous system. So she can
She doesn't have to seek outward to
yeah, she
find
doesn't
it.
need to
Yeah.
keep finding me for medicine work.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep working with you. It's not good for business, but it's like it's not the way that it's designed to do.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah.
I love that you shared that because as someone that I think we've both been disconnected for our bodies and we've done such good work to get into our bodies,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say that once you really land, you're like, wow, it feels like a breath. And it also
Mhm.
feels like, damn, it was so exhausting to stay up here. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was so
Yeah.
exhausting and
It's a
so
prison.
draining. It's a
Yeah.
prison. It's an
Yeah.
internal chaos, and we don't realize how much of our energy and our vitality and our life source that we're consuming by just staying up here.
In the
But then
mind.
when we
Yeah.
can be in our bodies, I'm like, wow, is there so much more space here? Like we can actually grow capacity in a
Yeah.
way that this isn't draining us or
Yeah.
keeping us on that treadmill that you were talking about.
Yeah, the mind body disconnections happen. It happens in medicine. Think about the notion of like when you're sick as a kid, what do? You go to
Take
the doctor.
something. Yeah. Or
You
go
go
to
to the
the
doctor,
doctor.
right?
Yeah.
So you're putting your body and your health in someone that
Else's
knows better
hands.
than
Yeah.
you. And we're just taught in an early age to trust someone else besides ourselves, and
Mhm.
we're not connected to our body. Or if you're being too much as a kid, your kid's like, shh, keep quiet. Like you
Immediately.
just
Or you're
you
given something,
yeah,
an iPad,
yeah,
a toy.
yeah, yeah,
Go distract yourself. Like you
yeah.
can't feel. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's no one's fault. We just as a culture, we're a very heady
It's
culture.
a disease. As you said, it's a disease of the
It's
mind.
Yeah, and if you can't see your ego for what it is and it runs you, and again, like I said, neuroscience says, and Bruce Lipton does that stuff on the subconscious programming.
Yeah.
95% of our day is spent in our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Our emotions, our beliefs, it's all not it's all programming up to age 9, and we live in that. So until you unhook from that, that's going to be your prison,
Yeah.
and that's your opportunity.
Can I ask you a more personal question?
Yeah.
So what are you currently working on, or is there a pattern that you continue to see and you're trying to go through?
Well, this is an edgier one. I don't know if I want to say this out loud. Well, I'll say it out loud. So because it's unconventional, like I've gotten a lot of pushback from it. Um, I read this book, and if you had emotionally immature parents, which
Mhm.
most of us probably have,
Mhm.
one of my coaches that I work with, she told me this book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents.
Mm.
And I read that thing and I was like, I got so pissed because chapter one was my mom, who I love, but I'm like, God damn it. I saw all the ways that I had this new nuance of like, oh, how that's shaping my relationship with women, including my marriage that of 10 years, it's no longer, but I could see more of those relational patterns of our dynamic
Mhm.
in every part of my intimate relationship. So I'm like, son of a bitch. So I was so
We know the
pissed.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm
Literally.
in good company.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're fine.
Okay, I
You're
can be vulnerable
welcome.
now.
Yeah. You're
You see
safe.
all of you.
So I made a
Mm.
conscious decision. I wrote her a letter and I said, Mom, this is the part in the movie at 77 where it's time to grow up. You need to get your
Mm.
will done. You talk
Wow.
about medical directive. If you can't work anymore, what are you going to do? What's your budget? Like, I am not being that, but
Mm.
like, as your son, I don't want that responsibility.
Mhm.
I'm not asking for it. You didn't ask me for it, but I feel like I've been doing too much of that. So I let her go. I said, I'm going to take a little break from our relationship to do
Wow.
my deeper work and
Mm.
grieve my childhood. But I loved you. I
Mhm.
said, that's not the point. I know you did. But I introduced the notion of immature parents, emotionally mature, and she just didn't
It
get it.
didn't go
Didn't it
well.
didn't
Didn't
track.
land. Yeah.
So I took what I thought would be a 3-month break from our relationship. It's been a year,
Wow.
and I just recently sent her another letter again saying, here's what I've been up to, not for her to change, but for her to really truly get me without
Mm.
her injecting something into the conversation, making it about her, which emotionally mature people always make it about them,
Mhm.
and so I just said it out loud and I said, hey, I'll be back in touch this spring. I didn't say when, but it's been the most beautiful thing for
Mm.
me. And what's happened, like I no longer have to be performative with women. Like I had to
I love
prove
that.
this again, subconscious, right? I had this racket where I was like this shiny object, all my accomplishments so they would like me, or
Mm.
being a role with them, helping them. Again, all subconscious, but I got to see that and tease it out. So taking that healthy break from her, what's showing up now are these really feminine women who don't have complex
Mm.
trauma, who are emotionally available, they're fun, they're playful, they're creators. And
Mhm.
I'm like, only a year, it's been a dramatic shift. So the mirror for me is like I'm liking much more what's showing up now versus me being the coach, the rescuer, the achiever. I was being performative in my relationships.
Yeah.
So I did a bunch of like everyone's doing AI therapy and stuff, but I was doing mirror work. I was doing shadow work. I got so geeked out, plus my coaching and somatic therapy. That's been the biggest lift for me the last year. It's like really working hard on at the nervous system level on up to parts work, really reorienting around just owning my value, sitting in my who I am, owning myself powerfully. Speaking of, if you don't like that,
Mhm.
that's fine. But like that's
I love that.
that's been the biggest unlock for me. It's been like, oh my God, that by far is gonna be the most joy is just this unlock with my patterning with women because of the thing with my mom and that book. So it's been a hell of a year-long journey. It wasn't a quick fix, believe me. I was
Yeah.
kicking and screaming, dragging, but it's been
Your
such a
words are
really
so powerful.
oh
I mean, that's what I like want people to hear. Like they're just they have so much strength over us that we
yeah,
don't realize how strong they
yeah.
are, and but they're doing their job, right? They're
Oh
there to
yeah.
protect you. They're there to help you manage the experience because at the end of the day, if they do, they're keeping you safe.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately we all have this journey that we get to go on, and how
Hmm.
beautiful that you get to meet those parts even though they're fighting you so difficultly, and they're like, no, you're not going to get in
Yeah.
here, and then you're like, no, we're going
We're
to
getting
do that,
in
we're
here.
getting in here.
Yeah.
Like it's like the duality of both. It's like I see the part of me that's like, no, fuck that, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it, and then the other part of me is like, no, I'm deciding to do it.
Yeah.
And you get to choose who you're going to give the louder voice to, but also still loving the part that is currently present.
Yeah,
That's the
you're
thing about parts work.
and the goal for people that don't know out there that are listening, internal family systems, aka
Hmm.
parts work, Dick Schwartz. He's a systems therapist,
Hmm.
and he looks at family systems, and origins come from that. You don't just treat the troubled child; they're a reflection of the system. So you work with the whole system. So
Yeah.
just like the family has a system, you have your own internal system. And let's say when you get activated, and you can look it up on YouTube, look up IFS, internal parts work. But if you get triggered, if you grab a drink right away, or you go look at adult content, or you grab a cigarette, or you rage, that's like what's called a firefighter, where you're just like, I got to put this fire out right
Hmm.
now. It's danger, intruder alert. Or that's a reactive mechanism, and that's a part. The proactive one is like, I'm a people pleaser. I'm an
Hmm.
accommodator. You're doing that thing so that something doesn't happen. So the opportunity with parts work, and you can hear people talking conversation. Oh, a part of me wants to go to Oregon, but a part of me is afraid. People
Yeah,
say
totally.
parts
They
out
say
loud,
apart.
but they
Yeah.
don't understand parts work. But we do it all the time. They're just sub personalities. I'm confident. I'm insecure. I'm a people pleaser. I'm too direct. It makes up all these unique personalities,
Mhm.
and the opportunity is to get to know them, not kill them off, and just build a relationship with them like they're this little 7-year-old. And they
Hmm.
need your support. They've got hopes, fears, desires, and just build a relationship and go, oh, there you are. You're just scared, and then just reparent yourself. That's what parts work is. It's a
Amazing.
Hmm.
beautiful modality for psychedelics. That's the framework that I use to help on board, and but it's a really, if you've not tried it out there, like it's powerful. It's even more powerful than therapy.
I agree.
It's
Genius.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just thinking, I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard an analogy of, you have all your parts on a bus
Oh.
and you get to choose who drives the bus, which part. But really, the ultimate goal is for awareness to drive the bus.
Yeah.
And you're aware of all the
Yeah.
parts of yourself and the darkness, it's all in there, like the
Yeah.
angry part, the frustrated part, the little girl or
Yeah.
little boy that
Yeah.
wasn't seen.
Yeah.
And the more that you look at those parts
Mm-hmm.
instead of, shoving them to the back or whatever, the
Yeah.
more you are
Yeah.
able to sit as the awareness of the bus
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah. And IFS would call that self-leadership.
Yeah.
It's that part of you that is, it's the adult you. It's a part of you that never changes. It's
Yeah.
collaborative. It's caring. It's curious. If you're not in those 8 C's, the three of which I mentioned, then you're typically in a part.
Yeah.
So the opportunity is to get like to be in that driver's seat. And then it's all of you in your totality.
Yeah.
There's not one that's worse than the other, but you just reassign that part a new job. Oh,
Yeah.
you'd rather be on the beach instead of like being this protector for like the last 30 years of just,
Yeah. Are you tired yet?
are you tired yet? Oh, I'm exhausted. Like that's the opportunity. So I'm glad you both know that modality. It's really good if you've not heard it out there.
The other thing I love too, I just wanted to say is that you have given yourself permission to take a gap, like space from your mother. Because I
Mm.
think family, which is where we get all of these, traumas, it's the hardest place for us to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think that, for some of us, like telling our family how we feel is important. For others, maybe it's
Mhm.
just recognizing
Yeah.
and then creating a healthy boundary and then
Yeah.
being okay with that boundary,
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome of how they
Yeah.
receive it.
Yeah.
And I love that because you basically said, I love you. This has nothing to do with you particularly. This is
Yeah.
what I need.
Yeah.
And then you honored that.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy for people to just, I mean, even in my own life, I know people that continually go back to the re-traumatization, the re-abuse. And
Yeah.
I just ask them, like, why do you have this person in your life?
Yeah.
They're not contributing anything positive to you. Just because they're your parent or they're your
Yeah.
sibling or they're this doesn't give them permission to walk all over you. And I
Yeah.
think that's really beautiful that you set that boundary because that's not
Yeah.
hard to do, especially when you have an older parent and
Yeah.
you don't, she could pass away, something could happen and you
Yeah.
have to remedy that in yourself, but you're like, this is
Mhm.
what's right for me in this moment. And I think
Yeah.
that's really powerful to honor and
Yeah,
acknowledge.
thank you. Going back to like we're walking each other home, like at that time that was happening for me, I was dating this woman or exploring like 6, 7 weeks in. I'm like, same damn old pattern. So I
Mm.
pulled that one off. I said, okay, I'm getting this handled. So she was the catalyst. And while I was dating her, she had no idea, but behind the scenes, I was doing shadow work and mirroring. I was in this full PhD in relationship, which she was not privy to. But for me, it was super informative. And then when gave my mom a time out, I got so much pushback from people.
I bet.
She's 77.
Hmm.
What do you do?
How
What if
can
she
you do
dies
that?
tomorrow?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just was like, I'm not defending myself. This is what I need to do for myself. You do you, boo. Um, and what happened though was that when that flushed itself out, the longer it went on, the more I
Hmm.
felt this peace. And I told myself, I'm going to go back to this relationship when I can love her unconditionally. I can set healthy boundaries because
Hmm.
she never honored them ever in my life,
Hmm.
ever. And I don't need her to change, be someone different, but I need to be different in my relationship with her. And
Hmm.
once I feel like I am that, where I can love her unconditionally and not be in my pattern with her, then I'll invite
Yeah,
that
you could
back
show
into.
up as
Yeah,
the full you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Joe Dispenza did a really cool half-hour thing on YouTube. Look up Joe Dispenza mother wound, and
Ooh,
it's a half-hour clip, and I'm like, wow, it just shows how insidious the mother wound is for men and for women,
for both.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So
So,
powerful.
and going back to earlier, and I'm being long-winded here, but so much of the work I do with these high performers, it starts in childhood. You tell me about your childhood, which is not a surprise to the two of you, I'm sure, but it's all relational. It's all your parents. It's all your
Hmm.
environment when you're growing up. And so if you let that run you and you stay in your subconscious, like it's good luck.
I mean, it's so interesting because we're treating Mother Earth the way that I think so many of us felt we were missing or treated
Mm-hmm.
with our own mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel like it's this aware, becoming aware, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're just reflecting it back to the planet. This lack of maternal mother that so many of us did
Yeah.
not have,
Yeah.
and they didn't have. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not their fault either. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a generational pattern that has continued for
We're so out of
many,
touch with
many
nature, and
decades.
nature is something we can exploit. We don't think about like, oh, it's
Yeah,
destroying everything, the oceans, but it's exploitation versus a relationship with it,
yeah,
So that's sad.
yeah.
So I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Where in your life are you feeling called to be more fully expressed? Life,
Mm.
love, business?
It's been in love,
Mm.
just having this new freedom of just really exploring boundaries and edges and being just even more fully expressed. Because in my business, I tell someone like it's the fuck yes philosophy. If I look on my calendar, everything on there is a fuck yes. If it's not on there. So that's
Mm,
always been good. And I've been traveling a fair amount, but the relationships with women has always been this thing that just never felt like it kind of caught up with the rest of me. So that's where it's been just be more fully expressed in the realm of conscious relationship. So
Mm.
it's been super rewarding, even though
I
I'm
love that.
still a year into my journey of
I
undoing
mean,
that patterning. It's like so much more. It's just like I feel this sense of freedom now,
yeah,
and it's so beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah,
Well,
Amazing.
with that, thank you so much for being on.
I could
Thank
have asked you
you.
some questions about that too, but maybe that's not the point.
We have 30 minutes. We can chat after.
Yeah.
I want to put someone else in the hot seat. I'm sweating over
It
here.
went off. It's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We hope you loved today's episode and that it sparked something in yourself on your journey to becoming more fully expressed.
Don't forget to check the show notes for all the details and resources from today's conversation. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and takeaways as it really helps us to create better content that actually serves you.
This week, we invite you to show up even more as you, more honest, more real, more expressive in your life and business. And we'll see you on the next one.